welcome back to my channel. Today I'm walking you through my everyday glowy, warm-toned makeup routine. For a long time I was using a lot more cool tones, like a bright pink blush, but I feel like I really have been leaning into more warm-toned makeup lately and absolutely loving it. So I figured I would walk you through my everyday routine and some of my holy grails. A lot of these are honestly products that I've been using since learning to do my makeup for my wedding, which if you haven't seen that, I'll go ahead and link this over here if you want to check it out. I filmed like basically exactly what I did for my wedding makeup, but this is kind of more of my everyday toned down. It's still a full face of makeup. I do want to be clear about that. This is not like a low-key staying at home day. This is definitely like I'm leaving the house, but this is kind of what it looks like, and I figured I would walk you through it. So let's get into it. Obviously, before my makeup, I typically do my skincare. So I have this Clinique moisturizer. It also has SPF. I'm very lazy in the morning, so I feel like I don't go through too many steps. Just this little Outset serum. It's for dark spots. It's very watery. I feel like I try not to use anything too thick under my makeup. So you can tell that's super watery. And then this is just SPF and sunscreen. I already have this on. I don't typically do it like right before my makeup. I try to give it a little bit of time. You can tell it's glowy, but it's still very light. Like it's not heavy. I find that if I use like a thicker moisturizer, my makeup is just sliding all over the place. So I typically try to avoid that, and then I give this at least a couple of minutes to dry down before going in and doing my makeup. I'm gonna be honest, a lot of the makeup that I'm using is actually makeup that I tested for my bridal makeup, so I'm gonna link that here. But it's obviously a much more toned down version because it's just for every day. So for foundation, I'm using the Armani Luminous Silk. This is their new formulation. I honestly love this just as much as the previous formulation. I think that this is supposed to have more skincare ingredients. I have the shade 5.3 and I just do 2 pumps. Sometimes I'll put like more of a glowy base product if I'm like going out for date night, but for just every day, I find that I stick to just the foundation because I feel like this has enough of a glow to it without being overwhelming. And then for the foundation brush, I'm using the Mario F4 brush. I love this foundation brush. I genuinely think it's one of the best ones that I've ever used. I just really like this. I feel like it has good coverage and it's like a good size. Like it's big without being too big. I used to really like, let me show you 2 of the other ones I used to really like. I used to really like this Hourglass one, but I feel like this is just a little bit too small. And then I like the BK Beauty 101 brush, but I feel like this is like a little bit too big. And this is kind of like if these two had a baby, it would be this brush. And I feel like that's why I like it so much. So blend that in. And then for concealer, I'm still obsessed with the Natasha Denona concealer. I don't know. I'm genuinely almost out of this. I have it in the shade N1. I feel like I could get a slightly darker shade, but like this, I feel like it's just the slightest bit too dark. So I kind of feel like the too light concealer ends up leveling it all out. I also pretty much just use concealer under my eyes. I have really dark under eye circles. I try to give this a couple of minutes to sit. So while that's sitting, we're gonna go in with the Nude Sticks bronzer in the shade Bondi Bay. And this is kind of where I do the placement loosely. I'm not super strict with this, and sometimes I honestly just fully skip this step, and then I use the smaller side of the Makeup by Mario F4 brush. I also like that a lot of the Makeup by Mario brushes are double-sided. It's a little bit more annoying for storing them, but I feel like as far as function and getting the most use out of a product, like I love that. And they're just easier to travel with. Hourglass I feel like doesn't put brush numbers, but this is the Hourglass concealer brush. I have several of these. This is another one that I feel like I'm just obsessed with, and I have not changed from this concealer brush for a really long time. I will say there's another one that's from BK Beauty that I feel like I really liked for a while, and also the Haus Labs concealer brush. I feel like the thing with the Natasha Denona concealer is that it has really great coverage, but it never feels heavy and it doesn't crease in the under eye area, which I feel like is very very hard to find. And then for blush, I'm using the Rhode blush stick in the shade Freckle. And then I just put that directly on. Like, technically you shouldn't do that, but that's what I've been doing. And then this is when I use the Hourglass foundation brush. I've actually started using this more for cream blush products, and I like it a lot more for this. I've also used it for bronzer in the past before I had the Makeup by Mario brush, and I feel like it works well. It's definitely a very versatile brush. Like, you can use it for foundation, you can use it for blush, you can use it for bronzer. So in that sense, I feel like this is a good one to have. Okay, now I'm kind of done with my cream products and I'm gonna go into powder. I'm still using, I'm like flamingoing in the bathroom. Obviously you can't see that, but that's why I'm falling. Anyways, we have this Givenchy, question mark on pronouncing it, powder, and then just a little powder puff. I tap off the excess on the back of my hand, and then I pat out the under eye area and add this on top. I like this powder for the under eyes specifically because, again, I feel like it helps a lot with creasing, but it's also a blend of like light and brightening colors, which for the under eye, especially as someone with dark circles, I really like. And then I always make sure to pat out the under eye, because if you're just putting powder over concealer that's already creased, it's going to crease. But if you pat that out and then put your powder over it, it's a lot less likely to crease. So that's our goal there. Some days I like adding Faux Freckles. I've been using the brand Freck. I actually love these. I think they're so fun because I live in a very sunny climate. I just think that they're a super cute addition, but I'm not gonna add them today. But I would typically use these after I've done all of my cream products and before powder, but I've already put powder on, so we can't go in now. I feel like that makes them look a lot less natural, but if you do it after cream and before powder, it's perfect. For bronzer, I've been using this YSL bronzer. It's the shade 2. YSL All Hours Hyper Bronze. I feel like it takes forever to get through a bronzer, and I'm not actually super picky about these. I feel like there's a lot of different bronzers that I've liked. I like the Armani Beauty one, I like the Hourglass formula, but this is kind of just the shade that I feel like I've been liking the most, so that's what we've been doing. And then I tend to do bronzer on my lids instead of eyeshadow for more of like everyday makeup. However, if it's like date night makeup, I tend to use the Dior Forever Glow as the base under my foundation. And then on the eyes, I like the Armani Luminous Silk Eye Tint. The shade on this one has worn off, so I will see if I can find it, but it's just like a warm brown kind of color. And it's a nice shimmer, and I just do this all over the lid, and then I'll do more of like a fluffy crease brush for the bronzer to give just a little bit more depth. And then I like the Makeup by Mario brown, perfect brown eyeliner. I'll do this waterline, tight line, and like a little bit along my lash line, but very light, like it doesn't look like I actually have liner on the lash line. And then I will add these little velour lashes, which if you've seen my bridal makeup video, I love these. They're like self-adhesive, so you don't have to add any glue. And to me, that's just incredible. And these stay on really, really well. I wore them for my wedding, absolutely love them. Okay, that was a long-winded tangent into date night makeup. Next up, we have, I really hope I didn't break that. Oh my god, it survived. Okay, I have this Say Beauty Super Suede Blush in the shade Chow. I am obsessed with this color. It's like very warm tomato girl makeup to me, but I just think it's so cute. Need a little bit more. And then I go on my cheeks exactly where I placed the cream blush, and then a little bit on my nose. Sometimes I'll also do a little bit of bronzer like on the outside of my nose, but it just depends on my mood and whether I remember that or not. I wouldn't say I'm super strict about that part. Honestly, I'm not strict about any of my makeup because sometimes I just skip bronzer entirely. Next up, I have the Laura Mercier powder. This is in the shade Rose. It's their translucent loose setting powder. Setting powder is one that I feel like you can kind of get from anywhere because I'm not doing a ton with this. It's really just going over my makeup, kind of blending in the powders a little bit and like helping everything marinate together and setting any cream products that weren't set by a powder, like that weren't set by the blush, bronzer, and under eye powder. Okay, so that's pretty much all of the base makeup. All we have left is brows, lashes, and lips. For brows, I'm just using this Rare Beauty brow gel. It's not tinted, it's just clear, and I feel like it gives you that like fluffy laminated brow look. This is probably my 4th bottle of this, and I already have a backup. It is admittedly almost gone, which is sad, but again, we already have the backup prepped and ready to go. For the lip combo, I have fell victim to the new Summer Fridays lip launch. I am obsessed. I have the lip liner in the shade Latte. This is so hard to do on camera. I need like a little mirror. And then we have the lip tint in the shade Almond. I will say I don't love the applicator of this. Like, I don't know what I want it to be, but it's very markery, but it does last well, so it just does kind of, to me, feel like something that could like dry out very easily. So while I love the color, it does sometimes require a little shaking, but nothing too crazy. So that's the color, and then honestly I'm just going over it with their clear lip butter balm in vanilla. I also love that you're just going over it with a lip balm because I feel like that keeps your lips so much more hydrated. Although I will say some lip stains I feel like really dry out your lips, and I do not get that feeling with this. Okay, and our final step is a little bit of mascara. Actually, that's not true. First, we're gonna do setting spray. This is the Makeup by Mario Surreal Skin. I love this setting spray. I don't feel like it's necessary, and I'm almost out. I probably won't restock, but I did like it. I just feel like you don't need to spend this much on a setting spray. Like the L'Oreal setting spray is fabulous. Give that a second to dry. All right, and then we're gonna finish with lashes. I'm just curling my lashes. I forget what brand this is. Tweezerman. Another thing that's absolutely terrifying to do on camera. And then finishing off with this Sochi mascara. This brand I learned about a few months ago, and I honestly really love this mascara. I feel like it's very pretty, very natural. I would say the Freck Beauty mascara is like a close second for me right now, but I definitely reach for this one the most. Okay, I feel like the lashes on this side are looking a little bit funky, so I'm just going in with a lash comb to kind of break up the fact that they clumped up a little bit over here. This is also from Tweezerman. I actually think that these came in like a little set together. But I like this one because it folds. I had one from Grande Lash that didn't fold, and it was always really irritating. This is our final everyday makeup look. I'm honestly obsessed with it. Obviously, you don't need this much makeup for every single day. It's totally up to you. You could swap out anything you want, take what you like, and leave the rest. You could also try just like the same routine, if you will, just with whatever products you already have to see if you like it first. I would not recommend like buying everything from anyone's makeup routine. I would definitely go into Sephora, test things out, get little samples, take them home, try it out with whatever you already have on hand, or like if you have a foundation you love, you should use that, you know? You don't need entirely new products just because of this video or any other video for that matter. That's all for today, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.